Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Dragon Age Inquisition. Now this episode is a Codex episode, so if you are not interested in lore and reading the stuff of the Dragon Age, then I suggest you skip on to part 5. Alright, so yeah, go ahead and do that. Okay. Alright, now let's see here. Let's start with characters. Looks like I don't have number 1. Who's number 7? Cassandra Pentagast. Lord Seeker Lucius. I am fully aware of the intent behind your predecessor's declaration. Lord Seeker Lambert pried the Templars away from Chantry control and led them into an assault upon all mages for reasons you both find justified. I, however, am certain when the Seekers of Truth went from guarding against injustice to perpetrating it. If you truly believe that is not the case, I suggest you look out a window at the chaos this war has caused and ask yourself if Thetis will recover even if you are victorious. I have remained at Divine Justinia's right hand, and will stay there even if you brand me a traitor. I am sorry, but there is too much at stake to swerve from the path we willingly followed at the Chantry's foundation. From a letter by Seeker Cassandra Pentagast to Lord Seeker Lucius Cora and Dragon 939. Sweet. Show image. Oh, that's sweet. That's sweet as hell. Alright, what's this one? Divine Justinia V. Formerly the revered Mother Dorothy of Orlais, Divine Justinia V rose to power after the death of Divine Beatrix III in the year 934 of the Dragon Age. Little is known of Dorothy's background before she joined the Chantry as an initiate, but she proved to be a liberal and daring thinker, willing to take a former bard and lay sister Leliana as a close advisor. A headstrong devotion to her own agenda and a rumoured support of the Mage Rebellion earned her no small dislike from the powerful priests long used to controlling access to the divine. Oops. In the year 940 of the Dragon Age, Divine Justinia called a summit, intending to negotiate a truce between the Mage Rebellion and the Templars splintered from the Chantry. The Divine Conclave was held at the Temple of Sacred Ashes, the most holy place in Thetis. Before a resolution could be reached, the cataclysmic explosion destroyed the Conclave, consumed the temple, rent the sky, and shattered the world's hopes for peace. Divine Justinia V perished in the Temple of Sacred Ashes. The Chantry flounders, leaderless in the wake of her death, and its fate grows increasingly uncertain. If the order is not restored to Thetis, Justinia V might be remembered as the Chantry's final divine. Oh, damn. High Chancellor Roderick. Nice. There are some who claim men have no place in the Chantry beyond the lowest rank of scholarly brothers and those who take their place amongst the Templars. It is not true. This is an organization spanning 7 nations from the smallest village Chantry to the Grand Cathedral in Val Royeaux. It takes more than sermons to keep it alive. There is an invisible army at work ensuring meals are delivered, repairs are made and faithful attended to, and much of it done by Chantry brothers like myself. The position of High Chancellor places a man beside the Most Holy. I control who is permitted audience, handle her correspondence, deliver her word to Thetis, and serve as her advisor on matters which may be mundane but cannot be disregarded. If I have influence, let it be said, it is something I use sparingly, if at all. This is a task which I devote myself with solemnity. I and my fellows bear a burden so that others are free to guide the spirits of Thetis unencumbered. Excerpt from a letter by High Chancellor Roderick, a Signon 938 Dragon. Did I read that right? A Signon? A Signon? A Signon? I don't know. Okay. What is this? Lavalon of the Dalish. Is that me? It's a deer. Right. What? The Dalish are elves who receive... Oh god, watch my reading get worse as this goes on. The Dalish are elves who refuse to live in human cities, where their people are exploited, having few rights. They choose to eke out an independent existence in the forest, attempting to keep the last remnants of their ancient culture alive. Jess is from a clan Levelon, a group of Dalish who migrate around the perpetually feuding free marchers. Jess's people travel along the borders of each city-state's territory where free march rulers will be less inclined to attack them, for fear of accidentally provoking neighboring cities. It's so funny looking. Jess manifested a talent for magic as a child. The clan's leader, Keeper Deshana, What the fuck? Istimatherio. Lavalon taught her how to control and hone her new powers. Just grew into a capable mage far away from the eyes of Templars and mage circles. When tension between the two factions erupted into warfare spilling into the countryside, Clan Lavalon was forced to pick up and move. Just as Keeper sent her to spy on the conclave at Haven, as the outcome might determine the fate of her own clan. After the explosion that killed the Divine, Jess was the only survivor at the Temple of Sacred Ashes. Rumors that the mysterious mark on her hand is a sign of the Maker's favor were spread by those who claimed they saw the Divine Prophet, Andraste herself, lead Lavalon out of the fight. Oh, shit. I didn't mean to do that. I have 2 more characters to read about. Show image. That's pretty cool looking. It's pretty cool again. Look at yours, Alas. Alright, Cassandra. I understand our first order of business must be to investigate the bizarre breach in the sky and protect people from demons descending. While my search continues, I wish to draw your attention to a new arrival at our camp, an elven apostate calling himself Solus. Solus entered the camp voluntarily, surrendering his staff to Chantry forces without protest. He is not Dalish, and says that he has never been a part of the circle, claiming instead to have studied magic peacefully on his own, particularly magic tied to the Fade. While I suspect you will be reluctant to accept the help of an apostate, Solus did come to us freely. Witnesses saw him in a nearby village at the time of the blast, so he was likely not responsible for what happened at the conclave. However, he has described the effects of the breach in enough detail to convince me that he knows more about the Fade than anyone else present. Solus has requested permission to study the lone survivor in one of the smaller rifts in hopes of finding a way to seal the breach. He has correctly guessed that it is growing and believes it will destroy the entire world unless we find a way to stop it. Unless you object, I will allow him his studies, under proper observation, of course. Liliana. Ooh, Varric Tethras. This is crossbow, jester, necklace, smirk. Right on. There's power in stories. That's all history is. The best tales. The ones that last. Might as well be mine. Varric Tethras of the Dwarven Merchants Guild of Kirkwall is famous, or infamous, for 2 things. His books and his association with the Champion. Oh, that's what I almost said. His association with the Champion of Kirkwall. After the Templars and Circles broke away from the Chantry, Divine Justinia V sent her agents to Kirkwall, where the roots of the war began, in search of answers. The Champion had long since disappeared, but Varric had written a book on his friend's involvement in the destruction of the Kirkwall Chantry, and the left and right hands of the Divine located him with surprising ease. They captured and interrogated him, then brought him to the Conclave to give his testimony to the Divine in person, but fate decreed that he would never meet her. Oh. That's it on characters. Crafting materials. Elfruit. Oh my god, I have to read about Elfruit? Oh, fine. Elfruit was first used by the elves of Arlathan, hence the name. The roof gave their medicines particular efficiency, so when the Imperium conquered the elves, the magistrates adopted its use and popularity spread to all corners of the empire. Elfruit is a hardy plant with large green leaves that grows in many places. It's so common that it tends to show up in most gardens and fields, almost like a weed. Unlike a weed, however, most people appreciate having access to the wonderful little plant. The roots can be used with very little preparation. Rubbing some of the juice on a wound, for example, will speed up healing and numb pain. And chewing on a slice of root treats minor ailments like indigestion, flatulence, and hoarse throats. There are several varieties. The most useful for herbalists are the bitter, gossamer, and royal elfroots. An excerpt from the Botanical Compendium by Inez Arancia, botanist. Oh, right on, girl. Creatures. Thetis is full of weird and wild creatures. Some are dangerous, some are harmless. It's important to be able to tell the difference. There's something in here I should be able to explore. Okay. What is you? The Pride Demon. Oh god. The most powerful demons yet encountered are the Pride Demons. Perhaps because they, among all their kind, most resemble men. What? As clever and manipulative as the Desire Demon, with a penchant for cruel irony that is almost human. While the demons of desire are largely engaged in the bribery of mortals, Pride will use mortals' own best nature against them. Clever men outwit themselves. Strong men crush themselves. Humble men forget themselves. Jealous men fear themselves. They turn corruption and ruin into an art. From Beyond the Veil, Spirits and Demons by Enchanter Mirdramel. What's you? Shade. Ah. It has often been suggested that the only way for a demon to affect the world of the living is by possessing a living or once living body. But this is not always true. Indeed, a shade is one such creature. A demon in its true form that has adapted to affect the world around it. My hypothesis is this. We already know that many demons become confused when they pass through the veil into our world. They are unable to tell the living from the dead. They are very static. The very static nature of our universe being confusing to a creature that is accustomed to a physicality defined entirely by emotion and memory. Most demons seek to seize immediately upon anything they perceive as life, jealously attempting to possess it. But what of those that do not? What of those that encounter no life or fail to possess a body? What of those that are more cautious by their nature? These demons watch, they lurk, they envy. In time, such a demon will learn to drain energy from their psyche of those it encounters, just as it did in the Fade. Once it is drained enough, it has the power to manifest and will forever after being known as the Shade. Such a creature spurns possession. It instead floats the shadow across its piece of land, preying upon the psyche of any who cross its path. Perhaps it believes itself still in the Fade. There is evidence to believe this is so. Okay. A wraith. That's kind of trippy. Like wisps, wraiths are sometimes thought to be the remains of spirits or demons that have been destroyed. They cannot shake the fate around themselves, nor are they capable of mimicking forms they see in the minds of dreamers as many weaker spirits do. Instead, they are the scavengers of the Fade, dwelling in the shadows of stronger beings, feeding on scraps of thought and emotion. From Beyond the Veil, Spirits and Demons by Enchanter Mirdramel. Thane dude. Ooh, groups. What's this? The Dalish Elves. Ooh. Ooh. In time, the human empires will crumble. We have seen it happen countless times. Until then, we wait. We keep to the wild borderlands. We raise Hala and build Aravels to present a moving target to the humans around us. We try to keep hold of the old ways, to relearn what was forgotten. We call to the ancient gods, although they do not answer, and have not heard us since before the fall of Arlethon, so that one day they might remember us. Elganon, the eldest of the sun, and he who overthrew his father, Mithal, the protector. Fenhorel, the dread wolf, Andruel, the huntress, Falandine, the friend of the dead, Diathamin, the keeper of secrets, Gillanine, the mother of the Hala, June, the master of crests, and Selace, the hearthkeeper. We gather every 10 years for the Arlathven to retell the ancient stories and keep them alive. For when the human kingdoms are gone, we must be ready to teach the others what it means to be elves, as told by Gisharel, keeper of the Ralafaran clan of the Dalish Elves. Okay, right on. That's literally the only group thing I have. History. Only fools ignore the history of the ground they walk and the people they meet. Oh, I forgot. Organizations of people with Thedas are numerous and often draw hard lines to stand behind. Alright, history. A chant for the departed. Did I read this already? I don't know. Show image. Ooh, they all have the same image, it looks like. The light shall lead her safely through the paths of this world and into the next, for she who trusts in the Maker fires her water. As the moth sees the light and goes towards the flame, she should see fire and go towards the light. The veil holds no uncertainty for her, for her, and she will know no fear of death, for the Maker shall be her beacon and her shield, her foundation and her sword. Transfigurations 10:1, often sung by mourners as they light candles. Study the Fifth Blight, Volume 1. While some of my contemporaries dispute whether the Fifth Blight was a true blight or merely a large darkspawn resurgence, historians agree that it began in the swamps of the Kokari Wilds on the southeastern border of Ferelden in the year 930 Dragon. So it's 10 years after that happened. King Kaelin Theron was swift in responding to the threat, gathering the royal army, every Grey Warden in his country, and sending a call for aid to the Ferelden nobility. The assembled armies laid a trap in the ruins of Ostagar, hoping to crush the force before it reached civilization, but they failed. Darkspawn overran the defenders of Ostagar, and they decimated the king and his army. They continued their advance into Ferelden unopposed. Only 2 Grey Wardens managed to escape the slaughter. and somehow they came into possession of ancient treaties which compelled the races of men to join arms against the massing horde. The surviving wardens made their way to Kinloch Hold, home of the Ferelden Circle, and conscripted the mages. In desperation to find more allies, the wardens journeyed into the Brisilian forest, seeking the Dalish. The elves, too, joined the growing army. Into the deep roads the surviving wardens went, searching for the Paragon, thinking of Aragorn, Paragon Branca, in hopes she could settle the unrest in Orzammar and unite the dwarves in battle against the archdemon. Branca could not be located, but another Paragon was found, the legendary Caradin, who forged a crown that ended all questions of succession. Balin Aeducan was crowned king of Orzammar, and the dwarven armies marched for the surface, despite their successes, though greater challenges were yet to come. From a study of the Fifth Blight by Sister Petrine, Chantry Scholar. Oh, I'm not done. I'm not done. Ooh, Volume 2, Study of the Fifth Blight. The warden sought Arl Eamon, uncle of the late King Caelan, in hopes of mustering troops from the Ferelden nobility. Upon arriving in Redcliffe, they learned that the Arl had fallen ill and was near death. His knights had gone in pursuit of the fabled ashes of Andraste, Eamon's only hope for a cure, and the village surrounding the keep was beset by a host of animated corpses. The wardens found and stopped the demon behind the undead before joining the search for Eamon's cure. No one is certain if the wardens actually located the final resting place of Our Lady Andraste, but whatever they found saved the Earl of Redcliffe. Upon his recovery, Eamon Guerin, that's so weird to say, Arl Eamon called for a landsmeet, and he and the wardens traveled to Denerim. The gathered lords and ladies of Ferelden found Taran Logan guilty of a number of crimes and sentenced him to execution. Furthermore, the landsmeet granted the throne to Alistair Theron, the lost son of Merrick, and bore witness to his betrothal to Taran Bryce Couslin's daughter. Yeah! Queen of Ferelden, first game. The nobility then pledged their own armies in the battle against the Blight. The archdemon clashed with the allied forces at the city of Denerim and was eventually slain, but at terrible cost. Much of the city would lay in ruin. The warden who rallied the armies was named the Hero of Ferelden and accorded the highest honor. The Fifth Blight ended before most of Thedas knew it had begun, but it left a terrible wound on Ferelden. The losses suffered at Ostagar and Denerim greatly compromised the security of the kingdom. Southern Ferelden, from the Kokari Wilds to the edge of the Banorn, are to this day a wasteland. It is uncertain how far the ripples from this event shall travel, or what waves it has already stirred. From a study of the Fifth Blight by Sister Petrine, a Chantry Scholar. Oh my god, I still have more history to read. Ooh. I read that one. Did I read this one? I don't think I did. I don't think I read that one either. I read that. Okay. What have we here? I read this? Okay. The Conclave. It has been a year of little more than chaos. Yes, the mages voted to dissolve the Circle of Magi, but I will point out this vote came only after increased restrictions were placed on them following the unfortunate events in Kirkwall. What other choice did they have? Yes, the Templar Order abandoned their duties and elected to pursue the mages to bring them back in line, but after 1,000 years in which their role was the mages' keepers, what else could one expect? They envisioned the war over quickly, a single battle that would see the mages' resolve crumble, after which they would meekly return to confinement. That did not happen. This conflict could drag on forever, with advantage on neither side. Both Templars and mages see this, and thus they have agreed to come to the Conclave. This is our chance. Words need to be said which have not been said. A compromise must be reached because there is no other choice. I believe this with all my heart. I am not without fault in all this. Perhaps I pushed too hard for reform, or not hard enough. The Maker has seen fit to give me another chance. I will not squander it. The Temple of Sacred Ashes, where together we will make history, and with luck we will be remembered kindly for it. Kindly. From the Journals of Divine Justinian the Fifth, Dragon 941. Oh wait, so maybe this is like 11 years after some shit. 12 years. First Inquisition. The birth of the Chantry took place more than 9 ages ago. The mists of time have obscured once well-known facts. It is commonly believed that the Chantry alone created the Templars in the Circle of Magi. Few recall there was ever an Inquisition. Those who do believe it predated the Chantry, hunting cultists and mages in a reign of terror ending only upon its transformation into the Templar Order. This is not quite the truth. One must keep in mind that the state of status prior to the Chantry's creation, a world where the only source of order, the Dimension Imperium, had fallen apart. People blamed magic for the death of Andraste, the blight, the terror they saw every day, and not without reason. Abominations and demons rampaged the countryside. No one was safe. Disparate groups of men and women initially formed the Seekers of Truth, determined to re-establish order because no one else would do what was necessary. The truth they sought, the question they tried to answer, was how to restore sanity in a world gone mad. Was theirs a reign of terror? Perhaps. Evidence suggests they were as vigilant in their protection of mages as they were of regular people. When they intervened, they convened an ad hoc trial to determine the guilty party. This even application of justice led to their poor reputation. The Seekers came down against every group at one time or another, their Inquisition gaining notoriety for being on no one side but their own. They considered themselves good people, however, followers of the Maker's true commandments. This was never more evident than when they lay down their banner in support of the fledgling Chantry. They believed with all their heart that the Templar Order was the answer, a desperate Thetis needed in that terrible time. Ultimately, the Inquisition was composed of independent idealists, not Chantry zealots. That is the truth. From In a Pursuit of Knowledge, The Travels of a Chantry Scholar, by Brother Gentili. That's fantastic. I read that. Letters and notes don't have any magic. Red Lyrian. Ooh, these are all sad too. To answer your question, my lord, yes, I have indeed heard of this Red Lyrian, of which you speak. A single piece of its surface in the eastern city of Kirkwall, and its influence alone was nearly enough to cause the city's destruction. As near as we can determine, it is regular lyrium that has been somehow corrupted. Those who have touched red lyrium, or even come near it, report that it sings to them, like whispers in the mind that slowly drive them mad. We do not know, however, what might stem from extended contact with red lyrium. Madness, surely. But would there be a physical corruption as well? What would happen if a mage or a Templar used red lyrium as they used regular lyrium? Far more disturbing is the fact that lyrium could be corrupted at all. Treat any red lyrium you encounter as if it were poison. Do not go near it, do not attempt to destroy it, and most importantly, do not attempt to use it. From a partially burned letter by an unknown writer affixed with the Grey Warden seal. Ooh. Conspiracy, Grey Warden stuff. Spirits in the moss. When first I summoned her, she was a rose, unwithering, unchanging, and unthorned. A spirit of the purest love. I can't even do this. One knows, who never hated, coveted, or scorned. Oh no. The second time I drew her across the veil, and shared a walk, a dance, a stolen kiss. With such a perfect beauty, pure and pale, no woman could compare, no man resist. In my weakness I essayed a third, though magisters their warnings did impart. She broke my binding with a single word, and said this smiling as she touched my heart. Though love was I, your passion's shining fire has forged the spirit into cruel desire. Sonnet 126, The Lover and His Spirit, from A Chant for Dreamers by Magister Horatius. That's pretty sweet. The Breach. The Breach. Did I read this? I don't know, but I'm going to read this. The Breach. What does it mean to pierce the veil, that which separates our world from the realm of dreams and demons? For the average man and woman, it is frightening thought to consider just how fragile this separation actually is. The veil is not a physical curtain, not a structure limited to a particular place. It is everywhere. It is in their home, in the streets where they walk, in farmers' fields as well as remote mountain vales. At any moment it could be torn to shreds, allowing demons and other horrors to flood into our world like a water through a burst dam. No, lore tells us that a small rift can be sealed. But what about a large one? What if some catastrophic magical event created a rift so large and horrific it weakened the integrity of the veil as a whole? Such a breach would threaten our entire world, turning concerns about occasional demonic intrusion into a charming anecdote compared to the monsters we would then face. If there is anything to be done, any reason we should look at magic with fear, it is for the possibility more than any other. From The True Threat of Magic by Lady Seeker Alandra Vale. Ooh, veil. There was a secret veil. Interesting places. Nations and regions, cities and villages. Landmarks and empty expanses. There are many places that Thaddeus call home. I forgot to read this. Across much of Thaddeus, magic is a power that is feared or reviled, but it often proves useful. The more magic is studied, the better off people wielding it or running from it. A Tale of the Frostbacks. Okay. Inside a golden cask, buried it in the earth, and raised around it the fiercest mountains the world had ever seen, the Frostbacks to guard it. But without his heart the mountain father grew cruel. His chest was filled with bitter mountain winds that shrieked and howled like lost souls. Food lost its flavor, and music had no sweetness, and he lost all joy in deeds of valor. He sent avalanches and earthquakes to torment the tribes of men. Gods and men rose against him, calling him a tyrant, but with no heart, Korth could not be slain. Soon there were no heroes left, either among men or gods. Who would dare challenge Korth? The Lady of the Sky sent the best of her children, the swiftest, the cleverest, and the strongest flyers, to scour the mountains for the missing heart, and for a year and a day they searched, but sparrow and raven, vulture and eagle, swift and albatross returned to her nothing. Then the Ptarmigan spoke up and offered to find the god chief's heart. The other birds laughed, as the Ptarmigan is a tiny bird too humble to soar, which spends half its time hopping along the ground. The lady would not give the little creature her blessing, for the mountains were too fierce even for eagles, but the Ptarmigan set out anyway. The little bird traveled deep into the Frostbacks. When she could not fly, she crawled, she hugged the ground, and weathered the worst mountain winds, and so made her lonely to the valley where the heart beat. With all the god's terrible deeds, the heart was far too heavy for the tiny bird to carry, so she rolled, little by little, out of the valley and down a cliff, and when the golden cask struck the earth, it shattered. The heart was full, almost to bursting, and the pain of it roused the mountain god to come see what had happened. When Korth neared his heart, it leapt back into his chest, and he was whole again. Then Hakon, Winter's Breath, bound Korth's chest with 3 bands of iron and 3 bands of ice, so it could never again escape, and all the remaining gods named the Ptarmigan honored above even the loftiest eagles. The Ptarmigan, an Avar tale. Why do I have such trouble saying that every time? An Avar tale from Ferelden. Folklore and history by Sister Petrine, Chantry Scholar. Loody-doo. Let's look at this picture. Oh my god, is that a dragon? Is that a dragon mountain? Haven. I would like to speak to you of Haven, the village in the Frostbacks, close to the Temple of Sacred Ashes. The Temple of Sacred Ashes. Sacred Ashes. We are all aware of its past. It was home to the disciples of Andraste, as they called themselves. Descended from the people who built the temple itself, they had strayed, over years of isolation, from their once noble roots to become dragon worshippers. After the hero Ferelden discovered the Temple of Sacred Ashes, which the disciples guarded jealously, what remained of the cult moved on, and Haven was abandoned to the ice and the snow. I passed through Haven on my pilgrimage to see the Temple of Sacred Ashes. Ashes. There was a storm, and I took shelter in the hall of Haven Chantry. Though they were dusty from neglect, the walls of that lonely place were strong and shielded me from biting winds. Peace came upon me, and my eyes opened to Haven's incredible beauty. It could not be overcome by the pain and the horror of the past. It could not be masked by decay and disuse. It would not be forgotten. Haven is precious to our lay, to the Chantry, and to the Sunburst throne for its historical and religious significance. It is my will that Haven be restored, rededicated to the service of Andraste, and preserved for the ages. Let it be a sanctuary for the pilgrims who seek out the Temple of Sacred Ashes. May they rest here beneath the cold, bright skies. May the glory of the Maker be revealed to them as they gaze upon the great peaks set of the work of his hand. Now and forevermore, let this be a haven for the faithful. From a speech by Divine Justinia V in 935 Dragon. Ooh, girl, this major. Temple of Ashes rediscovered. According to legend, the Temple of Sacred Ashes of Andraste was carried out of the Imperium by Havar, disciple of Our Lady. Wounded by Deventer soldiers when he tried to stop Andraste's capture, Havar was too late in coming to Menrathis to stop the execution. All he found was her ashes, left out in the elements. As soon as Havar touched them, Andraste appeared in a vision. "Rise," she said. "Aegis of the faith, the Maker shall never forget you as long as I remember." The Aegis of the faith, so named by our prophet herself, stood at her word and found his wounds healed and his spirit renewed. He gathered the ashes of Andraste and returned to the lands of the Alamari tribes, which are now Ferelden. It is said that Andraste's song led him to a holy site, where Havard and his followers built a temple to house her remains. There the legend ends. For centuries, men searched for the Temple of Sacred Ashes, finding only rumors and tall tales. Chantry scholars concluded that there was no temple. There were no sacred ashes. It was all myth, allegory intended to inspire and feed the fire of faith. Then the hero Ferelden came, seeking to cure a dying Arl with the miraculous powers of the ashes. The hero, with the help of the renowned scholar Brother Ferdinand Genetivi, traced the steps of the ancients and came to a remote ruin high in the Frostback Mountains. There, the urn of sacred ashes waited, as the legend said it would. After the triumph of the righteous over the fifth blight, the temple's discovery was shared with the world. Much to our dismay, however, by the time our soldiers arrived at the temple, the urn had disappeared. To this day, we still do not know who took them or why. All that is certain is that it was the Maker's will. The hero of Ferelden did not share the discovery with the world, and Brother Genetivi, whose research made it possible, had disappeared without a trace. Truth, however, we'll always find out. When rumors circulated about the cause of the Inquisition's miraculous recovery, agents of the Chantry investigated claims about the Urn of Sacred Ashes and were eventually led, as the hero had been led, to the temple. By the time our soldiers reached it, however, the urn was nowhere to be found. Though the ashes were gone, the temple itself stood, and it has since become a source of hope for the faithful. If the Grand Cathedral is the beating heart of our Chantry, then the Temple of the Sacred Ashes is her soul. Here we honor the Chantry's past even as we forge bravely into our future. From a lecture delivered by Chantry scholar Mother Clothild, at the University of Orlais 938 Dragon. Clothild. What tales? Stories and songs are windows into the minds of the people. Empress of Fire. Okay. Empress of Fire and the reign of the lion, eclipsed in the eye, the empire we are allegiant. Empress of Fire, what season may come, we fight for the day you will restore our heart and bring us to glory. We are forever in your graces. Empress of Fire, save us, everyone, the nation reviles, the course is but run, and the end has begun. Empress of Fire, believe in us all, embrace us with arms, and dress us with swords, and light up our hearts with blood so bold, we are forever in your graces. Empress of Fire, in the reign of the lion, eclipsing the eye of the empire, we are allegiant. Empress of Fire, what season may come, we fight for the day, will restore our heart and bring us to glory. As performed by the bard Meriden Halewell. Nightingale's eyes will speak of lives and their worth. Raven's tears they cry, but all the while they softly lie and spy on you. Nightingale's eyes, what will they find left behind? Craven master spy, with heart remiss for those who could not find the truth. We're blinded, so we're hiding, dying to be. We're hiding from the fighting, longing to see. We're waiting for someone to speak and set us all free. Nightingale's eyes can free the ties on our hands. Craven master spies, can they find the key that can unlock the past? We're hiding from the fighting, longing to see. We're waiting for someone to speak and set us all free. Meriden Halewell. Again, Nightingale's eyes. I read Madraste's bard. Madraste. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Notorious Raider trash. You want to know about my Raider friends, huh? What in the world would make a goody-goody like you poke your nose at such dirty business? Well, there's good Sir Tedious, of course. Some people say he runs the Armada. He doesn't. No one does. The Armada is a collection of ships, and each one is like a nation unto itself. Its own rules, its own people, its own leader. Tedious is respected, of course. You don't sink a half a dozen Orlesian frigates without earning at least some respect. He's a dangerous man. But he's no king of the Armada. Anyone tells you that, they're lying or misinformed. Then there's Lachlan Poole. Likes to sail around the southern Cape of Ravane, rattling his saber and posturing it like it means something. No one really cares what Lachlan Poole does, though. Only a fool will say that to his face. You see, the thing about Lachlan Poole is he's got gold, lots of it. Earns for legitimate means, even. still has a trading company somewhere in the marches, and he hires people to run it while he plays adventurer on the high seas. The Armada lets him do it because it always pays to have friends with coin. The one you should really watch out for is Yanato. They call him the Talon, the terror of Lomarin. But most often, that crooked bastard what might kill you in your sleep. Slavery, murder, torture. Nothing is too much for Yanato. He'd traffic in souls if he discovered a way to extract them from people. In fact, I'm sure he has some Tevinter cronies working on that right this second. I'm sure there's some coin to be made in stolen souls somewhere. The Imperium, probably. Isabella! Self-proclaimed Queen of the Eastern Seas. She proclaimed herself queen. That's hilarious. Is this... I read this one, huh? Yep, I read that one. I didn't read this. The Randy Dowager Quarterly. A well-worn quarterly missive of suspect virtue. The Randy Dowager welcomes the cool of autumn with the fall of another. The collected dreams of desire, being the confessions of an apprentice in training more furrowing than harrowing. Forbidden dalliances at their most spirited. The Randy Dowager exhibitions for the noble of thought, but spry of step. The lady herself says enchanting. One supports the circles, if not only because closed doors offer the imagination more. 3 scars floated in shock out of 5. R.D. Randy Dowager. I read The Singing Maiden. Tutorial. No, I'm not reading tutorials. No tutorials. Well, that is going to be it for the first episode of Codexes. The next one will be in a bit after I've collected a good bit of them. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode of Dragon Age Inquisition, be it a regular episode or a Codex episode.